I almost didn't see him. In the middle of the road, between the noise of traffic and people walking past, there was a tiny shape trembling near a car wheel. He was so small that drivers barely noticed him. Someone had hit him. No one stopped. He wasn't crying loudly anymore, just shaking. And in that moment, I realized something that still stays with me. He wasn't just afraid of cars. He was afraid of people. I was walking along the roadside when I noticed movement under a parked vehicle. At first, I thought it was trash blowing in the wind. But then I saw two eyes staring back at me. A tiny stray puppy. Dust-covered. Thin. Shivering so violently that his whole body moved with each tremor. There were tire marks nearby. From the way he lay, I believed he had been grazed or lightly run over. Miraculously, no bones seemed visibly crushed, but he was clearly traumatized. When I reached out, he tried to crawl further under the wheel. He thought I would hurt him too. "Don't be afraid," I said softly. But fear does not disappear because of words. He was trembling uncontrollably. His small paws scratched against the ground as he tried to hide. I noticed dried crumbs stuck around his mouth. He had been surviving on scraps, bits of leftover bread or food discarded on the street. No one had claimed him. No one was looking for him. I asked nearby shop owners if he belonged to anyone. They shook their heads. "Nobody wants him," someone said casually. That sentence struck me harder than I expected. Nobody wants him. I crouched down slowly and extended my hand again. He flinched, but this time he didn't bite. He was too exhausted. I gently touched his head. He froze completely, still waiting for pain. But none came. I stroked him again. "It's okay." Little by little, his trembling softened. The first challenge was getting him out from under the car safely. He kept retreating to the wheels, thinking they offered protection. After several minutes of gentle coaxing, I managed to lift him carefully. He was lighter than I imagined. Too light. His body felt fragile in my hands. I carried him to a nearby bicycle storage area to keep him away from traffic. Even there, he tried to hide behind objects, pressing himself into corners. His fear wasn't aggression. It was survival. When I offered water, he refused at first. He didn't trust it. He didn't trust me. After some time, and after watching me sit quietly without forcing anything, he finally leaned forward and licked the edge of the container. Just a little. That was enough. I faced a difficult thought. At home, we already had dogs. Bringing a stray puppy back carried risks: disease, parasites, unknown health conditions. And honestly, I knew my mother would not be happy if I walked in with another animal. I even told myself, maybe someone else will take him. So I asked around again. "Does anyone want a puppy?" No one stepped forward. People smiled politely, shook their heads, walked away. He was not a purebred dog. Not beautiful by typical standards. A small local stray, what some would call just a village dog. But when I looked at him, I did not see just anything. I saw a life that had been overlooked. I couldn't take him home immediately. So I made a temporary solution. I placed him gently inside a basket in a quiet corner of the building. I lined it with an old sheet. Not perfect, but better than asphalt. He continued trembling for a long time. I sat nearby. Not touching him constantly. Just present. Presence is sometimes more powerful than action. He would yelp occasionally, short, sharp cries that carried fear more than pain. Each sound made me question myself. Was I doing the right thing? Was I capable of caring for him properly? What if he carried illness that would affect my other dogs? The practical thoughts fought against the emotional ones. But every time I looked at his tiny body curled tightly in that basket, I knew one thing clearly. Leaving him where I found him was not an option. After some time, I brought fresh water again. This time he drank more. He was still suspicious. If I moved suddenly, he flinched. If I reached too fast, he pressed himself against the wall of the basket. But something had shifted. He no longer tried to bite. He no longer tried to run. He was too tired to resist kindness. Later, I decided to take him with me briefly while running errands. I placed him inside a cloth shopping bag to keep him warm and secure. At first, he resisted. Then he settled. Inside that bag, pressed against fabric instead of concrete, he finally stopped shaking. That was the first moment I felt his body relax. He was exhausted. Trauma drains more than energy, it drains hope. While walking, I felt him slowly lean into the side of the bag. He wasn't fighting anymore. He wasn't crying. He was simply breathing. Steady. Quiet. Alive. When I returned to the temporary shelter area, I adjusted the bedding again. I cleaned his mouth gently, removing the dried food stuck to his fur. He looked at me differently now. Still cautious. But no longer desperate. He allowed me to touch his head without flinching. He even closed his eyes briefly when I stroked his ears. Trust does not arrive suddenly. It grows in silence. That evening, I sat beside him and thought about responsibility. Rescue is not romantic. It is not just lifting an animal and smiling for a camera. It is commitment. It is cost. It is uncertainty. And yet, it is also something deeply human. We do not save animals because they are convenient. We save them because we cannot ignore suffering. Eventually, I made my decision. I would not leave him in a basket in a hallway. I would bring him home. Carefully. Slowly. With proper separation from my other dogs at first. When I lifted him again, he did not struggle this time. He simply looked at me. As if asking a question. Is this safe? I whispered the only answer I could give. Yes. The first days at home were cautious. He stayed in a separate space. I monitored his health carefully. Watched for signs of illness. Cleaned him thoroughly. Fed him small portions to avoid overwhelming his stomach. He ate quickly, too quickly, as if afraid the food would disappear. That behavior broke my heart more than anything else. No creature should eat as if it's their last meal. Gradually, his trembling stopped. Gradually, he began wagging his tail just a little when he saw me approach. Gradually, he began to understand that water would always be available. Food would always come again. No car would run him over. No one would push him away. Weeks passed. His coat improved. His eyes brightened. He started playing cautiously at first with soft objects. Exploring corners of the room. Investigating sounds without panicking. My family adjusted too. Even those who initially worried began softening toward him. Because it is difficult to resist a life that tries so hard to survive. Sometimes, when I watch him sleep now, I remember the image of him under that car wheel. Shaking. Unwanted. Unclaimed. And I think about how thin the line is between abandonment and belonging. He was not extraordinary. He was not rare. He was not expensive. But he was alive. And that was enough. Today, he no longer hides under cars. He no longer trembles at footsteps. He walks beside me confidently. Still small. Still humble. But safe. And sometimes, late at night, when the house is quiet and he curls up peacefully, I realize something important. Saving him did not make me extraordinary. It simply made me responsible. He did not need a hero. He needed someone willing to stop. To kneel down. And to stay. And that is something any of us can choose to be.